From deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, the hostess with the mostest, the host with the most roast, Dustin Vaughn Warnke, associate publisher and a contributing editor here at Texas Fish and Game, and I'm so excited that you've taken the opportunity to download our show, stream it online, however you are listening. Thank you so much for doing it. You make my socks go up and down every day that you guys listen to this and engage with it and share it with your friends and leave us a 5-star rating and all that other fun stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, reading, and listening. Man, it is a blast to have you guys back on another show. I'm just so excited. You listeners at home that are at work or wherever you are the reason why I get so fired up to do this show every 2 weeks, man. I absolutely love this thing, and I'm going to keep on doing this podcast for as long as I can do it. And I really am pumped up this week because we're talking about another health thing for awareness sake of health awareness in the outdoors. And I think it's important to talk about skin cancer awareness, okay? My dad had skin cancer. He just left. He was staying with us at our house for the last 3 or 4 days before we had our family reunion with my family down in New Berlin, the Warnke family. And basically, he was talking about how painful it is kind of to have stuff cut off of you and burned off you and everything else, carcinomas and melanoma, whatever you call it, all the different things that you have, the issues with skin cancer. And then all the different things that have to do with just protecting your skin and wearing sunscreen and getting sunscreen on your kids and that kind of stuff. And I've got an awesome guest this week, Keith Pittman. Him and I talk about skin cancer awareness and his product, Reeler Shield. And Reeler Shield is like this little bitty, it looks like a speed stick, like a bar of deodorant. It's like a miniature bar of deodorant, and you just kind of rub it on your skin, rub it in, and you're done. It's really cool. It doesn't get on fish bait, doesn't get on your lures or your tackle or your rod and reel, or get in your eyes and sting and all this other stuff like the spray-on and the lotions and the other ones, the aerosols and that kind of stuff do. This is just some really good stuff. So you can check his stuff out. I'll put his link in the show notes. And just a little bit of housekeeping to get out of the way. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to our podcast. It is free. It does not cost you a dime, and you get a new show every 2 weeks when you subscribe through your Podbean app, or if you don't like Podbean, you can check out iTunes or Stitcher or FM radio. I'm trying to think of all the different ones. TuneIn, all the different apps and stuff that you can listen to podcasts on. You can find the Best of the Outdoors podcast on there. Just type in the Best of the Outdoors. Be sure to add look for the yellow banner or the yellow square image that has the microphone and the Texas flag inside the microphone. That's us, so you can definitely do that. And I love doing this show, guys. This is therapeutic for me, even though as busy as I am. And man, it's been a busy few months for me. But this gives me some release. This gives me some clarity and some a creative outlet, with all the other stuff that I do. So if you've not done so already, check out my video channel. YouTube.com / or just I think it's / D Warnke, or just type in Dustin Warnke on YouTube, and you'll see some of the product reviews I've been up to doing. You'll see some of the videos I've been doing for Bill Carey at Striper Express, man, Lake Texoma. Really cool stuff there, and just some really exciting opportunities going on there that we're rocking and rolling. I also do the monthly column, the digital column that I have is a video column, and this month for October it is about how to choose a crossbow. You have a choice of a recurve crossbow or a compound crossbow, whatever. Really cool stuff. So I kind of talk about the differences with all that and the kind of things you need to look at for those kind of things. So anyway, some fun stuff there, guys. Some fun stuff indeed. Also, before I get too far into the show and introduce my guest, I have this little thing in my hand. It is a SD card reader, and it is really cool because it can plug into a computer through a standard USB drive. It can use a Type-C drive for newer Android phones. It has a micro USB for older Android phones, or it has a lightning cable. And it is by a friend of mine that works overseas, and he just manufactured these and is selling them on Amazon right now. And guess what? I got a bunch of them to give away. So we're going to talk about that probably on some upcoming shows. What we're going to do, probably a hunting game cam giveaway. So just stay tuned for that. You can read micro SD cards or standard SD cards, and it's probably one of the coolest pieces of technology I have for a while, because it works with any phone. I mean, virtually just about any phone that has an input to it, and then iPhone or Android. iPhone uses the iFlash device app, and just really cool. I love this guy. So I also have some green hunting flashlights from Vastfire. Vastfire hooked me up with a bunch of extra stuff. So anyway, some giveaway stuff down the road. All I need for you guys to do is just engage whenever I do giveaway stuff. All right, please be sure, because I've done some giveaway stuff before that hasn't gone as well as I'd hoped, and I just need you guys to actually go and do what I'm saying. If it's sending in some game cam photos or sending some fishing photos or whatever, just go do that, and I'll give you the directions in the future shows of how we want to do that. But I've got some stuff to give away, so I'm excited about that for the podcast. I've been kind of reserving this stuff for you guys, my audience, and just a lot of fun, man. Love the guests that we have on. Keith Pittman, awesome guy. Lives in Indiana of all places, and we talk about skin cancer awareness, talk about why you should wear sunscreen, just some general stuff you may already know, but just some reminders that we all need as outdoorsmen of why we go through and do the things that we do in the outdoors, and protecting our skin is so vitally important. And of course, wearing our Texas Fishing Game performance fishing tees or some Frio fishing tees or whatever the case may be are good. Wearing the Who Rags and the net gaiters and that kind of stuff's good. But there's a lot of things you may not know about the sun and its impact on your skin. And you may be thinking that you're as safe as a kitten, as my wife says all the time. You may be thinking that you are protected when in a lot of ways you're not by what you're wearing. And so Keith and I get into that and talk about that. And I learned a lot of stuff on this show, stuff I thought I knew that I really didn't. And Keith does a great job on that. So I really invite you guys to listen to this whole podcast. Didn't go as long as our last one with Rick Ward. My goodness, that was a blast. I think next time I'm going to have Jeff Stewart on the podcast. We'll go an hour and a half with him too. But I hope you enjoy this stuff, guys. I'd love to hear your feedback, your 5-star ratings. I love those on iTunes, so give me those. Rate this wherever you see it. Show me a comment on YouTube, the YouTube version of this podcast. I mean, any of that stuff just keeps me pumped, and I really appreciate you guys so much for doing so. And I'm just gracious and humble, and the gratitude is just beaming out of me that you guys listen and tell a friend to the show, and listen to the show and tell a friend is what I mean to say, and just all that fun stuff. So without further ado, here is my guest, Mr. Keith Pittman from Reeler Shield. Join me on the phone, Mr. Keith Pittman. How you doing today, Keith?
I'm doing well.
It's awesome to hear your voice on the other line and finally do a show. We talked about doing a podcast at first at ICAST this year, 2019 ICAST, and just had a fun time reconnecting with you because we've known each other for a while, haven't we?
Yeah, for a few years, and it's always great to hear from you. You were one of the first people that I really connected with. My first ICAST, I believe it was back in 2014 when we first touched base.
Yeah,
and
it's been a while.
That ICAST is what really made me convinced at how viable and how necessary, products like what I was interested in are needed in this industry,
Sure.
in the outdoor industry.
No, I definitely understand that. And so you do jerseys and stuff like that, but also you do Reeler Shield sunscreen, and you guys ran in our October issue an ad on this really cool, like, miniature deodorant speed stick sunscreen that goes on, easy. It's not greasy. It's not nasty. It doesn't make you feel yucky. It doesn't make you have to feel like you take a shower as soon as you get home. I mean, it's the only sunscreen, I've said this on video before, it's the only sunscreen my son will wear, and that says a whole lot for 10 years old there. So,
Well, it's funny because, when I first got introduced into this industry, in terms of the fishing industry,
yes,
I had been doing skincare and dermatology for about 12 years, and I did not realize, the outdoor enthusiasts are never really targeted with really good skincare products. It's unfortunate because they're the demographic of people that are outdoors the most,
right,
that can use really good skincare products. Dermatologists don't cater their products really to, an outdoor enthusiast group. You're
right,
getting the best products and the ones that carry the most benefit and the most innovative are usually sold in a derm office, and they're exceedingly expensive, because
Right.
those patients in that demographic don't have money to spend. So,
Right.
I knew very quickly that bringing high-end skincare products to people that are outdoors, like fishermen and hunters and people that enjoy riding their motorcycles and stuff, the
Yes.
sun and the wind can dry out and burn your skin so bad that the stuff that they've had available for years in this market is just stuff that's not good. One, for the environment, and two, not good for the human body.
Sure. Sure, yeah. And I mean, that's the thing that a lot of times we don't think about. Like, I was just telling the story before we started recording. I'm out with my son this past weekend skinning an axis deer, and I didn't realize it until it was almost too late that, hey, I'm in the bright sunlight. Like, I'm in the full sunlight. And I had two things to worry about: skin, burning, sunburn, and then dehydration and heat stroke. And in I believe it was the August issue, I talked about, it was the August issue. I was talking about avoiding heat stroke and heat stress, and sunscreen can help you actually do some of that, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that people need to recognize, and one of the things we understand is not everybody, it's hard to get people to remember to apply sunscreen.
Right.
And a lot of people are so used to using chemical-based sunscreens that burn the eyes. They're all greasy, get all over your boat, get all over your fishing gear, get all over your gun or whatnot. So you try to find other ways, which is, big hats, the gaiters for your face, buffs. You're trying to cover up more skin when you're out. And a lot of times you're out in the heat because you can't rely on sunscreens because there just haven't been good ones around.
Right.
Reelers, we actually, when I was creating the formula for reelers, I took into consideration all the reasons why anglers that I know refuse to wear sunscreen. And I tried to start there with making sure we had something that went on dry, went on scent free, didn't irritate the eyes, won't get all over your boat, your gear, your gun.
Sure.
And was easy to apply. And, having a mineral-based sunscreen that actually reflects UVA and UVB rays off the surface of your skin is definitely one of the keys to staying safe out in the sun. With heat stroke, skin cancer is just such a big issue with avid outdoor enthusiasts.
Yes.
And people just don't realize it because when you love going outside, it's just one of those things that you're out there. You spend so much time out there, sun protection, unless you're at the beach or, on the water for a day, you don't consider. But just like you said, when you're out on a hot sunny day in Texas and you're out even mowing, you should be having something to protect your skin and keep you safe. And that's where, Reeler Shield is really cool on how easy it is to apply, and the little deodorant stick. It just is easy to apply. You don't have to worry about it. It won't irritate your eyes, and it keeps you safe out there. I mean,
sure.
I know my son actually hates it. He did originally, but he always likes jumping on the mower and just going out there, and I would never consider wearing sunscreen.
Sure.
But I keep a stick of Reelers right in the cup holder, and he knows he has to put that on before he fires it up.
It's just a reminder that, son, you got to put your sunscreen on before you go outside. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, it can go anywhere. I mean,
I also
so
kind of do that. That makes me realize he's going through the checklist before he fires it up.
Yeah. Clear prop, yeah. Make sure everything's good to go. No, that's good. So putting on sunscreen is kind of a mandatory thing, and it is starting to be in our house too. It's just one of those things that I think we don't talk about enough, kind of like what I was kind of alluded to earlier, our hunting and fitness and health podcast that we did a couple of shows ago. It's something that we need to talk about more because these things go hand in hand. I have to go see a dermatologist because I've got a mole on my back that they want me to look at. They want the dermatologist to look at, so I've got a schedule to do that. But I was just thinking about my dad. He has white marks all over his arm from them burning off carcinomas, from his skin.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Dustin, every chance you get, and now he's in his late 60s, and he's just got skin cancer is just rampant in his body. He's just always looking for ways to avoid it and ways to avoid the sun and stuff like that. But he's more cognizant and aware of it now because he had to deal with that at earlier in his life, and it was painful to get this stuff burned off. It's not just so easy to just get this stuff. It's easier to prevent it than it is to deal with it when it happens, is what I'm saying.
Oh, and that's what's sad about it. That's why, with us predominantly being in fishing, because we do, when I was developing Reeler Shield, I knew I wanted to stay in the fishing industry. That's why we started the OT Wear jerseys, because we wanted to stay with the tournament fishermen and also start networking with high school and collegiate teams to make sure that they are getting protected. It's almost, OT is almost an extension of the marketing for reelers. I mean, we provide awesome jerseys for great pros. But it was one of the ways that we felt too. Everybody who gets a jersey from us gets a sticker Reeler Shield.
Oh, cool.
It's
That's
because
smart.
we're trying to keep them safe out there, especially when you're tournament fishing and you're passionate about fishing. You need to get serious about sun protection.
Yeah.
And when it's 90 degrees out on the lake, you don't want to be having, a face shield over your mouth when you're trying to breathe. And you can have which actually doesn't provide as good as protection as if you put the Reeler Shield on.
Right,
you're actually
sunscreen.
reflecting those UV rays that can penetrate fabrics, even with an SPF rating. You can still get some of that radiation going through there, and ours reflects it right off the surface of the skin so it doesn't penetrate.
And that's the one difference.
Important.
Yeah, that's the one difference you were saying about Reeler Shield too, that it being a natural, organic style, or natural sunscreen that's not a chemical, because chemicals penetrate the skin. Is that what I read at your booth, right?
Yeah, I mean, chemical sunscreens are made to go on topically, and they absorb into your skin and break down the UV rays as they penetrate your skin. If it's a broad spectrum. Because when you're talking sunscreen, you want to talk about chemical versus mineral or physical sunscreens, which are chemical sunscreens that have all these oxynoxate, oxybenzones, and these chemicals that people know and are aware of now that are damaging to the reefs, but are also not good to be on your skin.
Right.
And a physical or mineral sunscreen uses either zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, the particles to reflect the sun, to reflect UVA and UVB rays. It's basically, if you have a broad spectrum mineral-based sunscreen like Reeler Shield, it's like putting millions of tiny mirrors on top of your skin that reflect the UVA and UVB rays right off the surface.
Instead of absorbing into your skin. It's not penetrating. That's what you're saying.
Down.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. That's cool.
It's also one of the things that people, you don't really realize in this industry, unless you really start looking into the testing and what determines an SPF rating.
Right.
The people think that if you have an SPF 30 versus an SPF 50, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
An SPF 30, like ours, blocks 97% of UVA and UVB rays. Ours at a 50, or anything at a 50, only blocks 98%. And if you've got a chemical-based SPF 50, as soon as you put it on your skin, it starts breaking down. The chemicals start breaking down. So it's losing efficacy the longer that it's on. That's why you have to apply it.
So often. Right. I know what you mean. Yeah, because what do they say on typical sun? I'm not an expert on this, and you are. What do they say reapplication for a chemical-based sunscreen? Like, is it every 90 minutes?
It depends on what you're doing.
True,
if you're jumping in pools and, your water, you're replying, you need to be reapplying about every hour.
Okay, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's to stay protected. And with a physical-based sunscreen, since it's an actual particle that's on your skin, it has to be basically wiped away for it to lose its efficacy. It doesn't break down because it's a physical particle. You can't see it. In zinc oxide, like ours, we use a zinc oxide formula then. It's actually a clear version of this. But if you remember back in the day with these films with lifeguards at the pool with their white noses.
Yeah, I used to wear a white nose to the water park. Yeah,
that's zinc. Yeah, that's zinc oxide.
Zinc oxide. That was popular in the 80s and 90s.
It's been being used as for diaper rash for hundreds of years, or so long. It's been around, and so safe and so effective now that they have quote unquote like super zincs that have particles bonded with them that help reflect the UVB, so you don't need titanium dioxide to it.
Right.
And that type of chemical engineering and that new ability to get zinc oxide to go on clear is a big change in the industry.
Sure.
That nobody wants to walk around with a complete white nose and face.
Right.
But honestly, in terms of protection, that's what you want your product to be doing. You want it to be blocking like you're wearing that, but not seeing it or feeling it.
Well, and let's talk about that for a minute. Some other precautions to take for sun awareness, if you will. Fishing shirts are all the rage right now, especially what you've got with outdoor tech wear jerseys. You've got the long sleeve, SPF, high SPF, fishing jerseys. You have the neck gaiters like we talked about, which I wear when I fish just about every chance I get, which covers the neck. But, if you wear a fishing shirt, sometimes it doesn't cover all your neck, You've got to be cognizant of the part below the gaiter and above the neckline of the shirt, that part doesn't get sunburned. And that's something that I've been having to watch out lately every time I'm on the boat or out fishing or anything like that. And I've got camo gaiters and stuff I use for hunting and turkey hunting and stuff like that, face masking, those kind of things that protect the body too. But I mean, having a good hat, like a good wide brim hat, one of the ones I talked about in the video that I featured Real Shield on about protecting you from heat stroke was a pop hat, which basically was right down the road from you. I don't know if you noticed. They were on the end cap and you were on an end cap. Did you notice Pop Hat?
I didn't. If you saw me at ICAST,
you were
I was
busy.
Like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah, you were crazy.
From the second that door opens to the second that door closes, it's busy. And that's why we love going to ICAST.
Yeah,
you meet so many people and you talk to and it's the one time a year I get to see so many of my contacts in the same place.
Yeah, same here.
One of the best things about the industry, I love the people I work with.
I do too.
It's like working with all your buddies.
Yeah.
Everybody's hard working. Everybody loves to fish and hunt. And,
right.
It's a great, and family is very accepted, in business practices. When I was doing my pharmacy and my dermatology, I could never bring my kids to our shows, like to be in the booth. And, ever since we started going to ICAST, I make sure the last year I said, we always bring family to ICAST because, it's a family, fishing and hunting is such a family oriented, market.
Pastime, yeah, exactly. Well, what I was saying is down in the other end cap, you were there at the end row, I believe, and then this on the opposite end row was Pop Hat, and they basically have a wide brim hat that folds up into a size you could put it in your pocket, kind of like any of those pop up frisbees or pop out tents or anything like that. It basically just pops out. And the thing I like
I saw that podcast on it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I talked about that. Yeah, I talked about that in the video, and I was wearing it in that video too, and talked about it in the podcast that I did too. But it's just one of those things that David Cacciadorian is kind of a personal friend of mine, and just like you are, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, these two things go together. A wide brim hat that folds up into your pocket, and then a sunscreen that conveniently folds. You can fit 2 or 3 of them in your pocket. And it just seemed awesome.
People don't realize that and that hat is a great way. I definitely recommend wearing hats and keeping the top of your head and keeping that shade on your face, neck, and shoulders.
Right.
But a lot of people don't realize. When I started Real Shield, we basically we don't recommend face shields or anything like that unless they're for camo for hunting or for marketing. Okay. Because now that Real Shield is out there, it actually gives you better protection than those. Those over time with washing and with stretching, when you're talking about UV sun rays, they can penetrate that fabric.
Really?
Even if you've got sun protection on there.
I thought I was safe as a kitten, Keith, I thought I was safe as a kitten wearing those things. But you're right. I mean, it makes sense. They can penetrate that over time, the more you wash them, which is about every trip I go on, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I see your point, man. I mean, you think you're protected, but sometimes you may need a little bit more, It doesn't hurt to have both.
I use mine to keep my hat on when we're running on the boat, or my kids like to have them. But when I'm out fishing, especially in the heat, I don't want anything over my face, and that's why you see me. I am almost clear. I'm so pale. I make Larry Bird look like Hawaiian tropic model. I'm pale, so I have to stay protected in the sun. If not, I'm just in a world of hurt. And I'm not somebody who likes wearing like lip balms or lotions and stuff. And so I'm the type of person that doesn't normally like wearing sunscreen. And that's why I'm so happy when we finally got the formula good with reelers, because it's something I actually enjoy applying.
Sure.
It keeps me protected.
Sure. No, and that's great. And I mean, I always talk about things that are innovative and things that are going to be of value to my readership, because, and to the listenership and to the viewership, and however people consume what I put out. But I mean, it's one of those things where I'm just like, this is new and innovative. And I know other companies I've seen, come out with similar products and stuff like that. But, there's the gels, there's the lotions, there's the creams, and then there's this, which is basically a convenient, as carrying a deodorant stick with you, but it's miniature. And when I first got the Reeler Shield, deodorant, little sticks, I was just kind of like, well, this must be the sample size. That's the actual size. So it's so convenient and small to just put in your tackle box or bait bag or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny because when we first were talking about when we had the formula and had all the testing and everything done, we knew we wanted to proceed. We actually had that conversation. Do we bring it out in like a larger deodorant stick and make it for the whole body? Or do we come out with that easy pocket size and make sure people have it so their face, ears, necks, and back of the hands, top of the feet, those areas that so many people forget to put sunscreen on, that's why we brought made that little deodorant stick first. That size we felt, and because it takes, you're looking at 15 seconds to apply your face, ears, neck, and hands and rub it in, and you're good to go. And that little convenient size gets us onto more faces than a bigger stick. And it's nothing. Those are the areas that are so prone to getting cut on and burned on by dermatologists.
Yeah. No, you're right. And how many people have we seen that have bandages and stuff on their face because they just had a skin cancer removed? Older folks and stuff like that. And a lot of times, even younger folks, people that use tanning beds and stuff like that. I mean, in the younger years, find that too. And the interesting thing is, I'll never forget one summer, my son, since I work from home now, so I can easily take care of him, pick him up, and take him home and stuff like that. And the summers he usually spends with me. But for a while, I worked another job before I came to work for TF&G full time. Where I had to be out on the road all the time, and he would go to a summer camp that they would have the last 2 weeks of it, the first 2 weeks in August before school started. They'd have it in the outside, and basically what I sent him along with some spray, one of the sunscreens that you spray, and he got it in his eyes. And because he opened his eyes when they told him to close his eyes, while they were spraying it with him. And you were making a point when we were at the show together where it was kind of like, you don't want to spray chemical sunscreen in your face lest you get it in your eyes, but lest you get it in the pores of your face. I mean, the more I look at it, it just looks disgusting.
And inhale it.
Inhale it. That's the other thing.
You see those sprays.
What is it? The aerosols. Aerosols is what I'm talking about, right?
Well, I'm sorry. I was trying to talk when you were. I got
excited
because you were talking about sprays, and those make me so mad.
I'm sorry, buddy. That was my fault. You were saying aerosols, right? I just thought of that. The aerosols.
What was that? I'm sorry.
The aerosols that you get with the spray, right?
Oh yeah. Well, because those aerosols, that making that mist. One, it's getting over everything. It gets everywhere, but when not just keeping your eyes shut, you have to keep your mouth shut. You don't want to breathe that in. When if you watch somebody spray themselves with some kind of, aerosol sun protection and jump into like a lake or a pool, and you see that oil slick that comes off of them when they jump in.
Yep.
I mean, that's what you're inhaling. That's what's getting all over your boat, your gear. It just makes a mess.
Your bait. You're everything.
Those things I have tendency when I'm at the boat ramp or something. If I see somebody with an aerosol, I try to offer them Reeler Shield and make them pitch their aerosol because it's just bad for the environment. It's bad for everybody.
I never thought about the oil slick in the water. Yeah, and jumping into the pool, or whatever, and getting the water all oily and everything. And the other thing that I like about yours in the fishing context is, especially those of us that use live bait or cut bait, it doesn't really make a huge mess around your bait. You have to rub it in and everything with your opposite hands, but I mean, it doesn't make the mess that chemical gels and stuff like that make for your bait, and as far as imparting that on the fish, that the fish taste, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's got no scent, no smell, and it's natural. So right
Yeah.
off the bat, you're not going to have those main chemicals and those greases and those oils that will get into the water and really contaminate it, like live wells and buckets and, when you're handling your bait. But also the great thing is it is a physical sunscreen. So there are particles. So when you put it on and rub it in, if you take your tops of your hands and wipe them on a towel, you're not necessarily getting burnt on the bottom of your hands, but you don't have that residual oil and grease and chemical that gets right into your skin right off the bat. That is what's tarnishing the water and everything for your bait, and especially if you have live bait, or that's getting in your live well, or that's getting all over your lures or your bullets or your gun.
Yep.
You wash that off, you wipe that off good, and you're good to go. You don't have anything. And even we've done tests where we've lathered up soft plastics and stuff with the reeler shield and threw them in the water. And we've got numerous. It always, it's funny because sometimes when I fish, I do that when I've done some videos on that. I don't want to say it, but I've had better luck with it on my lures than I have without.
We can't say it's a fish attractant.
I don't want to go as far as saying it's an attractant.
Yeah, I know, but it's not that big of a deal, and that's the thing. I just thought about that the other day when we were talking about this. Was that's one of the things that's my biggest pet peeve about the outdoors in the summer and really the winter. Anytime you got to wear sunscreen in the outdoors, which is anytime the sun's out, you've got to be cognizant or more aware of what's going on with your hands touching your bait and what you touched your hands to before. And I'm always aware of that. And I always say, every time I get on, I do my fishing ministry trips a few times a year with Crosswater Outfitters, which I talk about all the time on here, my fishing ministry. And every time I get on the boat, I will have just applied sunscreen, and then it's time for me to cut bait. And I'm like, fraud, But with your stuff, I'm just natural sunscreen. Period. It's not that big of a deal anymore. And,
I like to tell people, too, that because our product doesn't break down once it's applied to you, like chemical sunscreens, as soon as you put them on your body, they start breaking down. They start losing efficacy. And but with ours, you can, for your face and, your neck and your ears, keeping what's stick in your bathroom by your toothpaste, right. You can put that on in the morning before you go out, and you can have that protection you need for the day because it doesn't clog pores, it doesn't irritate your face to make it break out and everything. And women like it because it doesn't irritate the skin. Plus, once it's on there, you can apply makeup over it. So
even better.
It's a great way. I mean, if you're going to be out in the sun through the day and you want to be out enjoying the day rather than worrying about reapplying sunscreen every hour, the reelers is a great thing to do before you even head out of the house.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, the thing that I also remember growing up with chemical sunscreens is that, and this is more of a debate of chemical versus natural, but I mean, really, I'm just a big fan of Reeler Shield, but basically, the putting the chemical stuff on your face, like you were just saying, you would have to use a body sunscreen, and then you'd have to use a face sunscreen because the face would be more of a lotion, the body would be more of a spray, or vice versa, or whatever. But the thing is, it would always be an issue because I have sensitive skin, right? And fair sensitive skin, and the sunscreen on my face, no matter what it was, would always burn, and I mean burn like hell, burn,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the other thing that didn't really sit well with me is this can't be good long term. Yeah, protect me from sunburn, but this can't be good for my skin. I was thinking that the whole time I'm growing up.
The body, you have pain sensors to tell you when something's not good.
Something's not right.
I mean, you can burn when you're lifting weights and a good muscle burn, but look, when you put a product on your skin and it starts burning,
that's a telltale sign.
that's probably not good.
Yeah, no, that's not a good deal. Well, and that's the thing, man. I've enjoyed that about wearing Reeler Shield is that I wear it every chance I go fishing and every chance I go in the outdoors and hunting and do that kind of stuff. Dove hunting, just opened here in Texas in September 1, and there's still, it's hotter than Hades out here. Still, it's still 101 degrees plus. We're getting a little bit of rain here and there when I'm recording this, but I mean, it's just the ground's parched. I mean, the sun's just brutal in our hot climate here in Texas. We've got to wear something that's going to protect our skin, and I mean that's why I wanted to have you on, because it's just made all the sense in the world, because I was like, geez, I mean, something I enjoy putting on, not something I have to put on, and it's a big deal for kids too.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and our mission when we had this is really, I mean, skin cancer is the most preventable form of cancer out there,
right?
And sunscreen is just not like one of those products that's like really cool to talk about. It's something you need to know about, but it's hard to get people excited about sunscreens, especially when you've been inundated with bad ones for years. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that there were other ways to do it until I started researching and developing a formula. So you could protect people without having all those aggravations, because, over the years, I've heard, it gets on my boat, it irritates my eyes, it messes up my fishing, it gets on my handle grips all over my motorcycle and on the leather. Those are all things that when we were developing reelers, we knew we needed to take that out, because the people that are getting so affected by skin cancer are those same people that, I don't need sunscreen, I've got a hat, or blah, 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 because they never found a product that they liked to put it on. So they would just rather wear a hat or do something else. And Reelers is that, is targeted to make sure people like that hate wearing sunscreen will like wearing Reelers. It's so easy to apply and quick, and doesn't leave a smell, it doesn't really have any scent, it goes on dry. Those are things you have to have, at least for me too, as a consumer. Those are things that I always wanted. If I was going to wear sunscreen, I was going to wear something I hated wearing.
You don't want it to be a hassle, exactly. And the funny thing is, my son Jackson, he's like the biggest fan of yours, right? And I told him about Mr. Keith, and I talked about this off air with you before, but basically he's like, your buddy Mr. Keith like invented this, and he came out with this, and while he's rubbing it on, like just slathering himself with the sunscreen stick, and he's just like, man, this stuff is like the best stuff. I will always wear sunscreen, Dad. And I'm like, that's because he's got fair skin like I do. And he's a redhead, so he's gonna burn like crazy if he gets
tomorrow.
No tomorrow. So I mean, it's one of those things. But he's like enamored with the product, because I know the guy that designed it. So I think that was kind of cute to pass on to you, that he kind of thinks you're a rock star. So because
it's funny. My 3-year-old. I've got 4 kids, so I get confused every once in a while.
Okay.
Our 3-year-old Ryland, his first word was fish. This kid just talks fishing all the time, and he never is quiet. We thought it would be so great to hear him say his first word, but he hasn't stopped since that first word. But he always is talking about fishing. And if we talk about going out, he goes to the jar that we have by our front door, and he will go open up some Reeler Shield and start putting it on. In fact, if you follow our social media, you've seen some posts of him putting it on, because he loves putting on his sunscreen by himself, but he knows that if he has a chance to pick up that fishing pole, he has to put on sunscreen first. And he goes right to it, and he goes and grabs his fishing pole and says, let's go.
It's just, and what a precious child you've got there, I mean, at 3 years old, I mean, that's the age they need to really be cognizant of that. But you've got him in a habit, you've got him in a routine of every time I pick up a fishing pole, I get my sunscreen. And I mean, that's how many parents wish they could have done that with their kids at an earlier age,
Okay, now I'll tell you something that's funny about that. Is because the last time that he did that, we went to a buddy of mine's farm pond, and he might be good about putting on his sunscreen, but this is also the kid that I turn over, and he's thigh deep in mud, just continuously sinking, just reeling his pole. And I'm like, Ryland, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm fishing. I was like, you're half as tall as you were when I set you there. And we posted a video on my personal Facebook page, because I gave my daughter my phone, and I didn't realize she started filming us. But I tried to get him out of that mud, and I got stuck, and then his boots are suctioned in there.
It's like
I fell over.
Oh no!
I fell over trying to pull him out, and my daughter, who's recording the whole thing, fell over laughing, recording it, because I'm 6'3", 300 pounds. When I fall, it's funny. To everybody else, to me, it's painful. But so he's great on sunscreen, but the boy, he gets near the water's edge and starts thinking. He doesn't even think twice about it. He just thinks that's par for the course.
Just fish, Dad. Just fish. Yeah, just being a boy and getting messy and everything like that. And I mean, that's just kids being kids. But what a story! That's great. He's thigh deep in mud, and you're trying to save him, and you get
I had to go get a lawn chair and stick it in that mud so I could prop myself. I mean, this is like quicksand, right? I mean,
that's
it was a farm pond that he had drained like maybe 10 feet so he could work on the spillway. And the top of the dirt was cracked, so it looked like, desert dirt, just cracked and dry.
No.
But an inch under that crack was quicksand, basically.
Pretty much. Wow. Just keep on sinking.
You can actually see the panic on my face when I stepped down and realized how far I'm sinking.
Yeah, this isn't going well. Yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah, that's something else. But yeah, I love outdoors with families, man. There's nothing better than that. One of the things that I used some Realist Shield, and I keep some in my car whenever I'm going on hunting trips or whatever. I keep them in my bag. I mean, I've got it hidden all over the place, so I try to reapply it every time. But out axis hunting this weekend with my son Jackson, and the funny part is I was getting ready to shoot. We were doing a spot and stalk hunt and basically a deer drive at the same time. We were driving these axis deer over to where I get to get a clean shot, because we had two that had wounded legs that we needed to put down. And so basically we're sitting there, and he's like, "Dad, do I plug my ears now?" And I'm like, "No, not yet, son. All right, plug your ears now." "No, never mind." And just kind of going back and forth. And he finally plugs his ears at the right time, and I shot two axis deer, and he was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, that was the right time to plug my ear." And I was just like, "Well, when I get ready to pull the trigger, that's when you need to know to plug your ears." But it's just those kind of moments. Like, we spent 2 hours in the sweltering Texas heat in a ground blind, just waiting for these deer to come to us, but we had to end up going to them. But I just there's nothing to replace those memories, and they grow up so darn fast. Mine's already 10, man, and I just have one, and you know that because you've raised 4. But I'm just saying, gosh, it just what precious time, in the outdoors.
Kids. When you say that story, the first thing I can picture in my mind, and I just visibly picture it, I can picture myself and Ryland in that blind, in that heat.
Yeah.
And within 30 seconds, him looking up at me and saying, "Dad, can we go fishing?"
Let's go hit the water, Dad.
He's not one that would sit in that heat just still and patient. So be thankful that Ryland, all of our kids are different and fun, and we hold, they're your kids, so you love them. But
yeah,
there's times I wouldn't give to have one of my sons that would sit patiently in a blind
and wait,
without just looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, what are you doing, Dad? Gosh, that's funny. But I mean, it's
like,
just,
what, did I not clean my room? Are my grades
that's
not
right.
good enough?
I'm punished for this now, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah. So there are just so many great opportunities to get out in the outdoors, and even if you don't have immediate family, there are kids out there that would enjoy their organizations and ministries and things like that you can join that have opportunities there to give back. And that's one of the things that I'm really big about on this show is teaching what I've learned over the years, but also giving back, people opportunities to help and opportunities to do great things with other people, because the outdoors is, we talked about this in my podcast I did with Rick Ward last night that I recorded, and talked about the outdoor industry, and the outdoor lifestyle is just therapy in a way. And I see that happen, and I mentioned this before on my fishing shows with my fishing ministry, Crosswater Outfitters, that I've done shows with. We have seen the difference in these soldiers that we've taken out that are hardened hearts. That the fishing just softens them. Fishing just connects with them. Something about nature and God and the eternal universe that created water and everything that exists in there. it softens the heart. It basically is therapy. It's good for us, And I just to do that with your family, to get on a boat or get out in we went on the boat a couple of times. And that's the other thing. When you sweat, it's not that big of a deal where stuff's getting in your eyes and stuff like that. We were fishing in June, and I was using Reeler Shield, and it was like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I'm not, the stuff didn't get into my eyes and making me stinging and everything like that real bad. I'm basically just sweating, but I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I was like, this stuff is, my son was like, well, Dad, I mean, that's because this stuff's like the best stuff ever. And I'm like, well, so he's a fan, but
best thing since sliced bread.
The best thing since sliced bread. So anyway, he just, he was excited even in the heat and everything like that to be fishing because he knew that his skin was protected. And that he didn't have to worry about a painful sunburn after the fact and everything like that, and had no issues putting it on his face and not seeping in and being issues with the sweat and tears and blood and that kind of stuff that you get when you're fishing. That's what he said in this last hunting trip. He's like, blood, sweat, and tears, Dad. I'm like, yeah, that's the outdoor stuff sometimes, but anyway. So
it's funny because the ability to get people to use sunscreen is just, you have to come out and you have to really get people protected.
Yeah.
And keeping these tournament anglers protected is why it works so well with our, with the partnership we have with doing the OT wear jerseys.
Sure.
Youth fishing, high school, even junior high, and collegiate fishing is just exploding.
Yeah,
and it's awesome to see. And getting more people outside and fishing and hunting and enjoying the hiking, climbing, whatever.
Yeah, camping,
just
whatever.
Getting outside and enjoying what we have can keep people from polluting it. I mean, it's the more people that are out there appreciating it, the better chance we have of protecting this environment. And I look at areas like Key West and Hawaii and other, Caribbean places that have actually banned the use of chemical sunscreens because it's so damaging to the coral reefs and to the environment. And what's funny is they'll ban it because it's bad for the reefs, but the FDA has announced years ago, it has tons of material on why these chemical sunscreens aren't good for the human consumption. I mean, hormone deficiencies and all
let
that
alone
stuff
the reefs.
But it is. It's a time where the media is finally catching up with the products out there, and it's one thing I learned when I first came into the industry with my other skincare company is that the products that people have available in this market, excuse my language, are crap.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that. Yeah.
I mean, it's very rare. I mean, there's even sunscreens out there now that are talking about anger, some have to deal with fishing, but they're chemical sunscreens. And it's just like that's the type of stuff that we want to. That there should be no need to have to use it.
Right.
There's products out there like ours that are good for the environment, that will keep the entire family protected. It doesn't matter how young they are, you can use it on them, and it won't irritate them, and just getting out there and enjoying the day. It's just
without having to worry about having a painful
We're too blessed to be living where we're living. I mean, I might not be in Texas, thank God, because of the heat, and but I'm in Indiana, and as well as I do, I live in the small town that movie Hoosiers was about.
I forgot about that. The basketball movie, yeah.
And we still, that's the only claim to fame this place will ever have, because we still have one flashing red light just to make us fancy. That's it. But
one horse down.
When the local grocery store is the Dollar General, you're in big time.
Oh yeah, yeah. The place I hunt's got a grocery store like that, and that's like the hub for the whole town is going to the Dollar General. So that's funny. Mm-hmm. But what town again? Batesville, is that right?
It's Milan is where I live,
okay.
Milan, Indiana.
Milan,
but our offices are out of Batesville, Indiana.
Okay, cool. Good deal.
Batesville is famous for two things. It's got the casket company, which about 80% of the world is buried in. If you've ever heard of Batesville Casket,
okay.
It's a huge casket company. And then the other one is Hillrom, that makes all the emergency room beds, all the medical beds.
Yeah.
Which,
cool.
I'd say 70 to 80% of all ERs and surgical areas have hill run beds in them. So those are the two claims to fame. One, they kind of, I guess they kind of match in terms of industry because it's medical beds and caskets.
Yeah,
But,
medical beds and caskets got to go hand in hand, kind of. Yeah, that's funny. But no, that's cool. I think it's cool. But the thing I like about you, Keith, is that you have what we encompass, and I always have said I'm careful about who I have on the show, but you have the heart of the outdoorsman and what we call the Texas Outdoor Nation here, as far as the the fishing and hunting, the outdoor lifestyle, the getting out there and exploring and raising your kids around the outdoors, and just really the heart of the sportsman, the right heart of the sportsman is what I mean. Is what I've always honored about you.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I definitely, have tried, as being a parent of four, and I've got a 19-year-old daughter, 17-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter, and 3-year-old son. So we've got, and it's crazy just to see how different it was when my 19-year-old was little and doing things outside with her, on just how much, society in general has changed in, 16, 17 years.
Yep.
And we need to have keeping people outside and keeping them passionate about the outdoors, being environmentally conscious. That's why we like the fact that ours is eco-friendly. The formula even breaks down. It's not. We try to make sure that we always encourage people to recycle. I mean, our jersey company, we even we had fabric that was made from recycled water bottles.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which was cool. Yeah,
it's really cool.
And we're definitely getting our name out there, and the people that are our customer base is phenomenal, because the people that are buying our product are the ones that are outside that need it the most. And when you have customers that are passionate about the same things you do, it's great. And the reviews that we've had from customers have been great. We really take a lot of pride in the product that we've put out.
Sure.
We are honestly educating people about the dangers of skin cancer and how to protect yourself from it. It's a big part of our message. We have a big Know Your Facts area on our website. We trying to just educate the younger anglers, and it's one of the things that we love about working with these younger teams with the OTR jerseys. You get to communicate with all of these teams and get them talking about sunscreen, get them passionate about what they're doing, and
right.
It's great. We've got high school teams with 60, 70 anglers on them.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Northwest Georgia High School Angling Association has 19 schools, like 400 anglers. These kids, it's awesome. They pay like $100. They get their jersey, and they get to fish 7 tournaments.
Right.
For $100. I mean, that's. I would love to have had that when I was in high school.
Me too. Absolutely.
I mean, I played hockey for 18 years, and my parents will tell you that it was never that cheap, inexpensive for a season, to go out and play it. And that's being on a boat. And, getting all these kids out there, getting them excited about the outdoors is just phenomenal. I mean, and it's great. The USA Angling actually called us Monday. I don't know if you're aware that there's a group that is trying to make bass fishing an Olympic event.
Oh, really? Wow.
And Scott Martin and Jacob Wheeler and a lot of those guys are fishing on a USA Angling team.
Uh-huh.
I think they went to Africa last year, and they went to Mexico. I can't remember all the places that they fished, but it's like 20 of the most phenomenal freshwater fishermen out there right now that are on there. And we made jerseys for all of them. And it's cool because they're going to be competing, and all of them need sunscreen. So, we can make sure that they're protected. And, it's cool to see how the sport is really progressing. I mean, the same thing with archery. Archery is getting to be a huge sport nationwide for high school and collegiate.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And that's the thing that's amazing about it, is it continues to ever expand and widen the amount of people that are getting into the youth fishing sports and stuff, and just how that is manifested itself over the years. I mean, you're talking about angling clubs that have, hundreds of people in them, and then schools that have, lots of anglers, and just competitions, and these are your next generation of bass pros, and this is, they're getting hooked into the sport of fishing in regards to the way that, people like Jordan Lee got started. I've always followed Jordan Lee on Facebook. Won 2 Bassmaster Classics, 2017 and 2018, and just really amazing guy, that started in the stands watching other people win the Bassmaster Classic over the years, and just how he progressed through it, through high school and college bass fishing, and just how it impacted him to do what he did, which is go on and go and kind of win the Super Bowl of fishing. So, and then there's Major League Fishing now, which is huge now too as well. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh, no. I mean, I get excited because I love working with these younger teams, the high school and the collegiate teams, especially because the way that we, with OT, we're not just someone you call real quick to make a jersey. I mean, we get to know each team and each organization that we work with pretty closely. Everybody we work with has a direct line right to me because I consider ourselves, kind of their brand managers. We want to create a look that really makes them stand out and reps their sponsors who are keeping them out there, in a way that you can't. It's like being able to put them in their NASCARs. NASCAR really was one of the first sports that in IndyCar that really took advantage of that, being able to get showcase your sponsors with
on your car, on your shirt,
that are helping you get out there. And there's a lot of companies that are out there, like Wheelers and OT, that want to do everything they can to help these guys get out there and support their teams. I think the companies in the fishing and hunting and archery world, big players in the apparel and the gear have really started supporting putting money into these younger tournament trails, and it's great.
Yep, that's awesome. And there's just so much to take in and get involved in out there, and a lot. We had like 5 stories, I think, in 2017 or 2016 alone on high school anglers and college anglers, and just teams, and how that's starting to be a big thing, and just how we support that with what we do at Texas Fishing Game, but also what you're doing with OT tech wear and outdoor tech wear and the jerseys that you're creating out of recycled water bottles, and in some cases, and that's just great. But also really personalizing that towards that team. I mean, you care. There are a lot of people who just slap something together and just call it good, and you care. And that's important.
Well, that's good. I mean, I love doing it. I love working with these teams and talking to them and seeing what they're doing throughout the year and getting updates. That's why our at OT Jerseys social media, on Instagram, or outdoor tech wear on Facebook. The way that we're able to showcase these anglers and these teams is a great way to help show that extra support that their sponsors get to see, extra visibility. It gets people talking about it. There's organizations like Top Tier Fishing that is helping high school anglers get into colleges and make them visible.
Wow.
It's Zach, the guy from Top Tier. He's somebody who was recruited heavily for baseball for college, and he just his passion is trying to bring that recruiting process into fishing. And there's programs out there that have it. In collegiate programs that our colleges are really getting behind their fishing teams, and it's great to see. And we love working with organizations such as Texas Fishing Game too, who really do care about the stuff that they're putting into their publications and telling you guys want to make sure your followers and your readers and your viewers, all of them are getting the best information out there and aren't just getting information for the sake of information.
Yeah, we care.
That's what we like working with that, because I mean, the main consumer base we want to target is the same type of people that we are. People out there have their kids love the outdoors, work hard during the week, and are trying to enjoy the outdoors when they can. Right. And
play out during the weekend. Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier. It's one of the things we tell guides all the time, because we even set it up to where our guide services and charter captains can buy in our reelers the same way that, wholesalers can. That
Cool.
way they can provide it to their clients, and those clients get to remember the fishing and not a sunburn.
Right.
Because if you get torqued out there on the water and you're miserable, you're not going to remember the fact you caught some awesome Goliath grouper, or caught a 8-9 pound bass.
You're just
or
miserable
like
because of the sunburn. You'll never forget the
fish
sunburn.
you're paying somebody to put you on.
Right.
Right. So many of these charter services they give people like hats, or they give people like a sun shirt. And we've got some of the bigger ones that have stopped doing that and give all of their customers a reeler shield.
Right.
That way it also keeps their boat clean and it doesn't get all the spray sunscreens all over their gear and
Sure.
all over their gear, the boat, the deck. And, it's funny how it can, little products can tie in throughout the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So, well, how do people find you? I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to, because I know you got other stuff going on. But I'm so thankful for the time you took to talk to us about the difference between natural and chemical sunscreen, and just why to make that choice, especially as it relates to fishing, but also as it relates to hunting. How do people find out more about you and Reeler Shield?
Oh, it's very easy. You can go to reelers-shield.com. and Facebook or Instagram at Reelers Shield. It's just REELERS-SHIELD.com. And then there's no dash in the social media group.
Okay, cool. No, that's great. And I mean, I love this stuff. I just love having guys like you that bring a new breath of fresh air to the podcast. And, I have some past guests on from time to time that do that too. But I mean, it really makes me love doing this show because I've got guys like you I can do it with. Y'all really enliven me a lot, and you certainly have today.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm sure your other guests do too.
Yeah.
When you're filled with a house full of kids, none of them want to listen to what you got to say about sunscreen. So,
but we care about that on this show.
Kids watch documentaries on garbage and recycling. So. But and again, if any of your followers ever are a part of a team, or might have kids on a fishing team, make sure they shoot us an email at info@reelers-shield.com. We love working with youth teams and youth programs
Sure.
and kids fishing events and stuff that we can help them donate product to so they can stay safe in the sun during the event. Those are all things we love to do.
And then Outdoor Tech Wear, how do they learn more about that? Or do you want to just contact the Reelers?
That can be at ot-wear.com.
Well, I appreciate the time today, Keith. This has been great. I mean, I really
No problem.
enjoy.
My pleasure. It's always great talking to you.
Yeah, same here. And I really enjoy having the breadth. I learn something even more every show that I do. But I mean, I learned something really big about stuff I didn't even know from our conversation at ICAST. And you and I sat down for like an hour and talked about that and shot the breeze. And every time I talk to you, I learn something new, which is great. So
well, that's good. Education is key.
That's right.
I appreciate your support, and I appreciate being on here. It's great talking to you.
What do they say? Knowledge is power. Yeah. So
there you go.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
All right, Dustin. All right. Have a great day.
All righty, and there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Keith Pittman from Reeler Shield Sunscreen. Really nice, natural, organic, reef-friendly sunscreen. Good stuff. Hey, without further ado, I want to also make sure I mention a couple of guys that are coming on as sponsors of this podcast in the future, and that's going to be Skull Hooker. They've got a podcast spot coming up. They make the table hooker, the big hooker, the little hooker, the turkey hooker, the trophy tree. I mean, all kinds of different ways to display your skull mount, all right, your European mount, whether that be a hog or an elk or a white-tailed deer, a mule deer, a turkey fan with the beard and the spurs and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different things. There's just the cap, the skull cap and bow bracket they've got is just really cool for just if you just do a skull cap like I've got hanging up in my office I'm looking at right now, and or you can do a full European mount, and really cool. I mentioned them a few shows back, but they're coming on. Probably the next show we'll do a thing on that. So this is more of a fishing show where we talk more about fishing stuff. I'll probably do a hunting show the next one, but either way I try to alternate, just have fun with this thing and just roll with it. And having guests like the guests I've been having on lately, it just makes my job so easy because I just enjoy the conversation we have with just intelligent folks that understand the value of the outdoors and why we do what we do, why we hunt and fish, and why we carry on this legacy to generations yet unborn. So there's some good stuff that is coming along there. So if you're not done so already, you can subscribe to the podcast. Like I said, you can check out our newsletters. Got Tactical and Practical Tuesday, Wildlife Wednesday, actually called Wilderness Wednesday now, with Chester Moore, our editor-in-chief of the magazine. And check out our Thursday Texas State of the Outdoor Nation. To sign up for either of those or any of those newsletters, simply visit fishgame.com, look on the right-hand sidebar or scroll down if you're on mobile, and you will be able to check out all the different stuff that's available there as well. I've got a lot of articles coming out this fall hunting season about hunting and gear reviews that I've been doing, and just awesome things that I've got coming on. So the YouTube channel's got some stuff going too. We are resurrecting the Texas Fish and Game YouTube channel. I've been putting all my fishing game videos on my personal YouTube channel and blasting them out, but now we've got the Texas Fish and Game YouTube channel that Chester Moore is kind of spearheading, doing some content on that. So be sure to subscribe to both of those. Dustin Vaughn, Vaughn, Warncke is my last name. You can find me, Dustin, Dustin. You can find me on YouTube. Then you can also find my buddy Chester Moore, awesome guy. He's got a YouTube channel, and then he's got the Fish Game Video, Texas Fish and Game Video YouTube channel. You just find by searching Texas Fish and Game. All right, thank you guys so much for everything. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys forever. I just want you guys to go out and have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.